Every friend you have will betray you. Not because they are evil, not because they planned it from the beginning, but because loyalty was never the thing holding your friendship together in the first place. It was convenience, and convenience always expires. You want to know why almost every close friendship eventually cracks, fades, or explodes into silence and resentment. It is not because people are fake. It is because most people never understood what friendship actually was. To begin with, they thought it was affection. It was never affection. It was alliance. And alliances only survive as long as both sides benefit from staying loyal. This is the brutal truth Niccolo Machiavelli understood 500 years ago, while kings were being poisoned by their own brothers and advisors were smiling in the same rooms where they planned assassinations. Machiavelli did not study friendship as a poet. He studied it as a battlefield, and what he saw was this. People do not love you for who you are. They love you for what you represent to them, what you give them, what you make them feel about themselves. The moment that stops, something inside them shifts, quietly, without warning. And that shift is where betrayal is born. Think about the friend who disappeared the moment you stopped being useful. Think about the one who smiled in your success but grew distant the day you outgrew them. Think about the one who knew your secrets and later used them as weapons, not out of hatred, but out of self-preservation. This is not an accident. This is human nature under pressure. And Machiavelli knew that nature does not change just because we call it friendship. Here is the part most people refuse to accept. Betrayal rarely comes from enemies. Enemies are predictable. You expect their attacks, so you prepare for them. Betrayal comes from the people closest to you because only they know where you are unguarded. Only they know which words will cut the deepest. Only they had access to the version of you that you never showed the world. That access is exactly what makes betrayal possible, not weakness, not bad luck. Proximity. Machiavelli believed that in matters of power, and yes, friendship is a form of power, you should never assume loyalty is permanent. You should assume it is conditional, fragile, and dependent on circumstance. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. And clarity is what protects you when illusion cannot. Ask yourself something uncomfortable right now. How many of your friendships would survive if you had nothing left to offer? No status, no money, no attention, no emotional labor, nothing. But your raw, unpolished presence. If the honest answer scares you, that fear is not paranoia. It is awareness, waking up after years of sleeping. Most people build friendships on emotional exposure instead of mutual respect. They open their wounds too early, trust too fast, and confuse vulnerability with connection. But Machiavelli warned against this kind of blind faith, not because emotion is weak, but because unearned trust is dangerous. Trust should be built slowly, tested by time, and observed through actions, not words. Words are cheap. Anyone can say they will always be there. Few actually stay when staying costs them something. Here is a truth that will sting. The friend who betrays you is often not lying when they say they care about you. In their mind they do. But their loyalty has a ceiling, a limit they never told you about, because most people do not even know their own limits until tested. The moment your presence threatens their comfort, their ego, or their advantage, that ceiling reveals itself. And suddenly, the person who once defended you becomes the one spreading doubt behind your back. This is where Machiavelli's genius becomes uncomfortable. He did not tell people to stop trusting others. He told them to stop being naive about human motivation. Because naivety is not innocence. It is a liability. The people who suffer the most from betrayal are not weak people. They are good people who assumed everyone operates with the same moral code they do. And that assumption gets shattered the moment self-interest walks into the room wearing the mask of friendship. Let's go deeper, because there is a layer beneath betrayal that almost nobody talks about. Betrayal is not just an act. It is a revelation. It exposes something that was always true, but hidden beneath politeness and routine. The friend did not suddenly become disloyal. The loyalty was never as deep as you believed. What changed was not their character. What changed was the situation that finally tested it. This is why Machiavelli insisted that you judge people by their actions under pressure, not their words. During peace, anyone can be kind when nothing is at stake. Anyone can promise loyalty when loyalty costs nothing. The real test comes when your success threatens their identity, when your pain requires their sacrifice, when your rise forces them to confront their own stagnation. That is where true character reveals itself, and that is exactly where most friendships fail. Now here is the twist that changes everything. You are not just the victim in this story. You are also the test. Every person you call a friend is silently measuring you the same way. Whether they realize it or not, they are watching how you behave when they lose value to you, when they need something you cannot easily give, when their pain becomes inconvenient for your life. Betrayal is not a one-way street. It is a mirror, and most people are too afraid to look into it honestly. So what do you do with this brutal knowledge? Machiavelli's answer was never to become cold or isolated. His answer was to become clear-eyed. Protect your inner world. Do not hand your deepest truths to people who have not proven through consistency that they can hold them with care. Loyalty is not measured in years. It is measured in moments where staying was inconvenient, and they stayed anyway. Silence becomes your greatest weapon here. Not silence out of fear, but silence as strategy. The less you reveal to those who have not earned your trust, the less power they hold over your downfall. Machiavelli understood that information is leverage, and leverage in the wrong hands becomes betrayal waiting for its moment. Guard what matters, not because you don't trust people, but because you finally trust reality more than illusion. There is a certain peace that comes when you stop expecting permanence from people who were only ever passing through a season of your life. Not everyone was meant to stay. Not everyone who smiled at your rise was rooting for it. And that is not a tragedy. That is simply the architecture of human relationships, built on shifting self-interest, disguised as unconditional loyalty. The strongest people are not the ones who never get betrayed. They are the ones who study the pattern, accept the nature of people without bitterness, and refuse to let one betrayal poison every future connection. They become selective, not paranoid, discerning, not distrustful. They learn to read intentions. The way Machiavelli read power, watching actions over time, not promises in the moment. So the next time someone close to you disappears when your life gets harder, do not ask what is wrong with you. Ask what was always true about them that you were not yet ready to see. And the next time you feel that quiet urge to distance yourself from someone whose success now unsettles you, pause. Look in that mirror Machiavelli left behind. Because understanding betrayal was never really about protecting yourself from others. It was about becoming someone who never becomes the reason someone else's story ends in betrayal.